Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare,
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada,
Jaya Prabhupada.
Gurudev, 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 Jaya Jaya Gurudev. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama.
Hare Rama, Somebody help each one of them. Help him with his neck beads. A little awkward to do it yourself. Can you help him with his neck beads? Say, Om Keshavaya Namaha. Narayanaaya Namaha. Madhavaya Namaha. Om Pavitra Pavitra Va Sarvavasam Katopi Va Yasmaret Pundarikaksham Sabhaya Abhyantara Suchihi Shri Vishnu Shri Vishnu Shri Vishnu. We have extra copies. Raise your hand if you don't have. Okay. Could you go around and give them to them? Thank you. Are we ready? Ishvara Parama Krishna Sachit Ananda Vigraha Adir Govinda Sarvakarana Karanam Chintamani Prakara Sadmasu Kalpa Briksha Laksha Vritesu Sarabir Avipalayantam Lakshmi Sahasra Shata Sambrama Sevyamanam Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Venum Kanvantam Aravinda Dalaya Taksham Barhavatamsam Asitam Buddha Sundarangam Kandarpakoti Kamaniya Vishesha Shobham Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Alola Chandrakala Sadvana Malya Vankshi Ratnangadam Pranaya Keli Kalavilasam Shamam Tribangalalitam Niyata Prakasham Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Angani Asya Sakalendriya Vrittimanti Pashyanti Panti Karayanti Chiram Jaganti Ananda Chinmaya Sarujvala Vigrahasya Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Advaitam Achutim Anadim Anantarupam Adyam Parana Purusham Navayovanam Cha Vedeshu Durlabam Adurlabam Atma Bhakta Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Pantastukoti Shatavatsara Sampragamyo Vayoratapi Manaso Muni Pungavanam Sopyasti Yad Prapada Sinya Vajincha Tatve Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Ekopya Saurachayatam Jagadanda Kotim Yachaktirasti Jagadanda Chayayadantaha Andantarasta Paramanu Chayantarastam Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Yad Bhava Bhava Chadiyo Manujastataiva Samprapya Rupa Mahima Shanayana Bhushaha Suktairyam Evindakama Pratataistuvanti Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Ananda Chinmaya Sapratibhavitabis Tabirya eva nijarupataya kalabihi Goloka eva nivisatya kilatma bhoto Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Premanjana Charita Bhakti Vilochanena Santak Sadaiva Hridayeshu Vilokayanti Yam Kshama Sundaram Achinchugana Sarapam Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Ramadi Murtushakala Niyamena Tishtan Nana Vatara Makaro Bhuvaneshu Kintu Krishnaksvayam Samabhavak Paramak Pamanyo Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Yasya Prabha Prabhavato Jagadanda Koti Kotishva Shesho Vasadadi Vibhoti Binnam Tad Brahma Nishkalam Anantam Shesha Bhotam Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Maya Hiyasya Jagadanda Shatani Sute Trigunya Tad Vishaya Veda Vitayamana Satvavalambi Parasatvam Vishuddha Sattvam Tamaham Bhajami Ananda Chinmaya Rasamataya Manakso Yat Pramninam Panimintam Manutamopetia Lila Yatena Bhuvanani Jagat Yajasram Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Golokanamni Lijadamni Tale Chatasya Devi Maheshu Haridamasu Teshu Teshu Te Te Prabhava Nichaya Vihitashyayena Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Shrishti Stiti Pralaya Sadhana Shaktireka Chayeva Yasya Bhuvanani Vibharti Durga Ichchana Rupam Apiyasya Tatishtatesa Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Kshiram Yatadadhi Vikara Vishesha Yogat Sanjayate Nahitatak Pratagasti Heto Yaksham Utam Apitatasam Upaiti Karyad Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Deeparshir Eva Hidasham Tanam Abhyupetya Deepayate Vavrita Hetu Samana Dharma Yastadrig Eva Hitya Vishnu Taya Vibhati Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Yatkaranarnava Jaleva Jatisma Yoga Nidramananta Jagadanda Saramakopaha Adara Shaktim Avalamya Param Sumurtim Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Yasyaika Nishvashita Kalamatavalamphya Jivanti Loma Vinajada Gadanda Nataha Vishnur Mahansiha Yasya Kalabhishesho Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Basvanya Tankshmasas Kaleshan Jesha Tejaha Sviyam Kiyat Prakariyat Tadvitad Vadatra Brahmaya Isha Jagadanda Vedana Karta Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Yatpada Pallava Yugam Vinidhaya Kumbha Dvandve Pranama Samaye Saganadi Rajaha Vighan Vihantam Aramasya Jagatrayasya Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Agnir Mahi Gagurud Ambur Murudashascha Kalastatatma Manasita Jagatrayani Yasmad Bhavanti Vibhavanti Vishanti Yangcha Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Yachchakshur Esa Savita Sakalagrahanam Raja Samasta Suramurti Rashecha Tejaha Yasyagya Brahmati Sambritakana Chakro
Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami. Dharmota Papa Nichaya Shrutayasta Pangsi. Brahmadakita Gataya Vadayascha Jivaha. Yadatramak Vikaprakata Prabhava. Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami. Yastvindra Gopamatavindra Mahoswa Karma. Bandhanarupa Padabhajanam Atunoti. Karma Nirdahitu Kintu Chabakti Bhajam. Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami. Yam Krodha Kama Sahaja Pranayadi Biti. Vatsalya Moha Gura Gora Vasevya Bhavai. Sanchincha Tasya Sadrisham Tanam Aparete. Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajam. Shriya Kanta Kanta Parama Purusha Karpataravo. Druma Bhumi Chintamani Ganamai Toyam Amritam. Kata Ganam Natyam Ganamam Bhakti Prangshi Priyasaki. Chiradandam Jyoti Paramapita Dasvadyam Apicha. Sa Yatrakshirad Bishavati Sarabi Vyasya Sumahan. Nimeshad Yakyo Vavrajati Nahi Yatrapi Samaya. Vaje Shveta Dvipam Tamahamiha Golokamityam. Vidantaste Shantachati Viralachara Katipaye. Ishara Parama Krishna Sachit Ananda Vigraha. Anadir Adir Govinda Sarvakadana Kadanam.
Pass behind you, she's collecting. Oh. Things were pretty good until we stopped chanting. Okay. There are, looks like, some people who are with us that haven't taken part in a initiation ceremony, so I should give a little background for starters. The mantra that was chanted in the beginning, I don't know if you caught it, Om Apavitra Pavitrava Sarvavastam Gatopiva, is a standard mantra that says whether purified or unpurified, Pavitra, Apavitra, Sarvavastam Gatopiva, or having passed through all circumstances of life, Ya Smaret, that person who remembers Pundarikaksham. Pundarikaksham is the lotus-eyed Supreme Lord. He is taken beyond this realm of fear, sabhaya, abhyantara, suchihi, and become purified. Shri Vishnu, Shri Vishnu, Shri Vishnu. So it's a standard mantra for purification, along with sips of water, saying names of the Supreme Lord, like we say when we apply tilak. Keshavaya Namaha, etc. And those mantras that we just chanted together, they're Brahma Samhita prayers. It's from prayers composed by Lord Brahma, describing his, in the language of Bhakti Siddhanta, his realization of the ocean of truth. And the truths have their refrain, Govindam, Adipurusham, Tamaham Bhajami. We're offering, Brahma and we are offering our respectful obeisances unto Govinda, who is so many things. It's described in all of those verses. Ishvara Parama Krishna Sachit Ananda Vigraha Anadir Adir Govinda Sarva Karana Karana. He's the cause of all causes. He's the absolute truth, and within the absolute truth is everything, and the absolute truth that has everything within it manifests everything. So the verses are describing. And the reason for one of the primary reasons, is it's tradition when there's a function like this through sound to create an atmosphere of auspiciousness. So if nothing else, one can understand we just created an atmosphere of auspiciousness by reciting these prayers. And as one recites them regularly, Prabhupada specifically made a recording of these prayers and spoke in that recording that one should enter into the spirit of this hymn as a regular daily practice. They're very wonderful prayers. Initiation, that the prayers are creating an auspicious atmosphere for. Initiation is a process by which a formal connection with Krishna through disciplic succession is established. There's a very nice verse. I'm going to just speak a few verses this evening. One very nice verse that's referred to by Jiva Goswami in his writings, Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, that explains what Diksha. Divyam Jnanam Yato Dadyat Kuryat Papasya Sangshaya. Sangshaya, without a doubt. There are two things that happen when Diksha occurs. Divyam Jnanam is imparted, transcendental knowledge is imparted, and Papam is eradicated. Now, Papa is eradicated just by chanting Krishna's name. And we chanted it so many times already. But it's a formal process, a Vedic process. Divyam Jnanam Yato Dadyat Kuryat Papasya Sangshaya Tata Diksha. Tasmat Diksheti Sa Prokta Deshikais Tattva Govida. The process of Diksha, it's said by the Deshikas, the learned persons, that this is the process by which these two things occur. So the process, along with hearing of the holy name, the process is one of submission to Krishna through disciplic succession, and the formal acceptance by Krishna through disciplic succession. Or Dvijitvam Jayate Nrinam. Another nice verse that explains what initiation means. It's taking another birth. Now, some of the persons here will be receiving Gayatri mantras, and some of the persons here will be receiving their first initiation with names. Bhakti Siddhanta, and following him, Srila Prabhupada, and following Prabhupada ourselves, we follow this procedure of separating the two. That is, first initiation is, listen carefully, first initiation is a Pancharatrika process. Pancharatrika process means it's within the Vedic text. The Pancharatras are portions of the Vedic text that are for Vaishnavas, and there's procedures for deity worship and the mantras for initiation and so forth and so on. So this is a Pancharatrika process, first initiation. It's meant to connect one formally with disciplic succession, and then through further qualification and purification to receive Gayatri mantras. Gayatri mantras is a Vedic or Vaidika process in comparison to a Pancharatrika process. For those of you that are new or not familiar with this terminology, don't worry. But for those that like to understand these things, this is what Bhaktisiddhanta gave. You can say, we can say, I can say, prior to Bhaktisiddhanta, there wasn't this first initiation, second initiation procedure. It was just initiation. Recite Gayatri mantras. Here's a little Bhaktivinoda Thakur story. Bhaktivinoda Thakur was until he was in his mid-30s before he received Srimad Bhagavatam, because there wasn't the BBT where you just go to wherever you go to your local gift shop, or you go online and give your credit card information, click Krishna.com, click Srimad Bhagavatam, click, here's my credit card, click, here's my address, click, and the Bhagavatam comes to your home. That's our modern convenience. But during Bhaktivinoda Thakur's time, there's no printing press, and there's no BBT. There's no Srila Prabhupada's elaborate commentaries. So he got a copy when he was in his mid-30s. And at that time, he was still not initiated. So when he became chief magistrate or head magistrate in Puri, one of the things that he did is he was giving regular recitation in Srimad Bhagavatam. He was not yet initiated. And because he was not yet initiated, he didn't have tilak, and he didn't have neck beads. So a local sadhu, Babaji, was criticizing him. What? Doesn't wear neck beads, doesn't have tilak, and he's speaking Srimad Bhagavatam? Don't go. So he was speaking badly about him. And that Babaji contracted some very terrible disease. He was nearly dying. And Jagannath appeared to him in his dream and said, "You've offended my dear devotee." Go and fall at his feet. He was nearly dead. He got out of bed and went and fell at Bhaktivinoda Thakur's feet and said, "The reason I was criticizing you, Jagannath told me to fall at your feet. I was criticizing you because you're speaking Bhagavatam, but you don't have any Vaishnava markings." See, don't have Vaishnava marking because I haven't found my guru yet. But I have all faith in the Bhagavatam. So there's a point that he didn't have what we just did. We have already tilak even before, but tilak and neck beads, that was Prabhupada's arrangement. Even before initiation, people wear neck beads. But during Bhaktivinoda Thakur's time, it wasn't the Panchatrika system, it was the Vaidika system. And Bhaktisiddhanta established this system that we follow. Following the Vedas, it's Vedic, the Panchatrika system, where Harinam initiation marks the formal connection. That's for those of you that are not familiar, that's what we're doing, the first initiation candidates. They're being accepted, their submission is to Guru, disciplic succession, Krishna, and Krishna is accepting that submission unto him, and they're given a name that reminds them of Krishna, or something in relation to Krishna. That's the procedure of what we're doing. And my experience in hearing live lectures or recorded lectures, whenever Prabhupada would speak on the occasion of initiation, he would refer to two important verses, so I'll follow. One of them is from Srimad Bhagavatam in the 11th canto. Some of you are familiar with the 11th canto, the first couple of chapters. The Navayogendras visit a yajna that was being performed by King Nimi. And the Navayogendras were kind of mystical persons. They could travel anywhere at will without any conveyance. They just descended from the sky at the place where the yajna was being performed. And not just their entrance was pretty impressive, but their presence was very impressive. So King Nimi stopped the yajna. And those of you who know about Vedic yajnas, you don't stop yajnas once they start. He stopped. He stood up with folded hands. He was offering prayers to these great sages and said, I'd like to inquire transcendental knowledge from you. So he inquired. And one of them, Sage Prabhuda, spoke the following verse. To get transcendental knowledge, the verse says that one requires a spiritual master. Tasmat means therefore. Tasmat guru prapadyeta. Prapadyeta means surrender. Tasmat guru prapadyeta jigyasu shreya uttama. Jigyasa, nice word, means to inquire. Like Atata Brahma Jigyasa. Jigyasu Shreya Uttama. Shreya means long-term benefit. Preya is short-term benefit. Shreya is long-term benefit. And Shreya Uttama is the topmost benefit. So approaching a spiritual master is meant for those who have inquisitiveness, jigyasu, in their ultimate benefit. Tasmat guru prapadyeta jigyasu shreya uttama. Shabde pare, so that the next section describing, that's the qualification of the disciple. Then what's the qualification of guru? It's very succinct. Shabde pare. Shabde, one hears knowledge of the Vedas of Pare, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, transcendence. Shabde Pare Cha Nishnatam. The way Prabhupada has translated Nishnatam is not only they know the Vedas, but they're able to dispel the doubts of others who are also inquisitive, the inquisitive persons. They have that capacity. They're empowered by Krishna to relieve people of their doubts. And doubting is not a bad thing. It shows the light's on. So, and then when there's doubt and there's response, it clears doubts. Shabde parecha nishnatam brahmani upashamashrayam means they've left behind worldly considerations. Their considerations are in transcendence or to the personality of Godhead. They've understood the personality of Godhead through hearing of the Vedas, Shabde Pare, Chinishnatam, and other things are left behind. They're not what their life is made up of. Such a person is the qualifications of Guru. So that's one verse. Say it again, it's a nice verse. Tasmat Guru Prapadyeta Jigyasu Shreya Uttama Shabde Paraichanishnātam Brahmani Upashamashayam. Even sounds nice if you don't understand the words. Sounds nice. It's nice. Sage Prabhupada in the Bhagavatam. And similarly, a verse from the Upanishads that speaks similarly about the Jigyasu Shreya Uttama. Tad Vijnanartam Sagurum Eva Abhigachet Samatpani Shrotriyam Brahmanishtam. It's shorter, but Tad Vijnanartam. Tad Vijnanartam. Those who wish to have transcendental knowledge, Vijnana, Sa Gurum Eva Abhigachet. I'm not a Sanskrit scholar by any means, but I heard Prabhupada say it so many times. Abhigachet is in the imperative, meaning there's not an option, it's a must. To get transcendental knowledge, there must be approach of a spiritual master, through a spiritual master. And there's a qualification of that person who approaches that spiritual master. Samatpani. Samatpani means the implication is a mood of service. literally it means getting firewood for the yajna. But just like Krishna and Sudama were sent to the forest by Sandipani Muni to gather firewood. Krishna is personality of Godhead, and Sudama was a very elevated Brahmin. But it's part of the duty of the student to serve in whatever capacity the teacher or spiritual master wishes. Samit Pani is the implication. Then the guru, Shrotriyam. They're fixed and transcendent from having heard. Shrotriyam, Brahma Nishtam. Brahma Nishtam. Nishta. Firm faith. Firmly situated in Brahman. So that's an indication of elements, not the entire process of Diksha, but it's elements within the process of Diksha. It's the elements of the soul's journey through, who can say how many lifetimes we've had? Who can say? No one can say. How many? Too many. Unlimited numbers. Too many to count. And somehow, some good fortune has come in one's life when there's association with one who's carrying bhakti. And when that good fortune comes, then bhakti life can begin. And when bhakti life is nourished by proper hearing and chanting, then the bhakti creeper can grow, and the upasamashrayam, the other considerations, diminish. Consideration doesn't mean that one becomes a sannyasi or one gives up things artificially of this world, but one sees things as opportunities to engage this or that or the other things in Krishna's service. Engage a building, engage one's duties in family life, engage your automobile and your computer and your whatever, your intelligence, your singing ability, your whatever endowments, whatever gifts have been given, use them in Krishna's service. And when bhakti awakens, that's how the world is seen. So we don't give things up, we use things in service to Krishna in its suitable and appropriate ways. That's our bhakti process, and initiation recognizes persons who have been engaged in the bhakti process for some period of time, and they're strong, they have some clarity about what it means to be accepted by Krishna and engaged in service to Krishna through disciplic succession. And they're recognized by this formal process of initiation. One last thing. Initiation, by the very translation of the word diksha, it implies a beginning. When you initiate something, it's a beginning. Now, before the beginning, there's a beginning. But this is also then another beginning. It's a samskara where there's a transition before and after, and so it's the beginning point where, in a formal way, dedication to Krishna's service. And then from that initial dedication to Krishna's service comes a whole lifetime of continual submission. It's important. The process of bhakti is ongoing submission. It's not a one-time, I remember once upon a time I was very submissive. It was really nice. And then I checked out and something happened. So it's ongoing submission is the point. To progress further. It's an opportunity to progress further through the medium of that ongoing submission. And it's essential to do so. And stay, as submission is nourished by sadhu sangha, so please stay in association of devotees. Those that are taking vows and those that have taken vows, continue to stay in the association of devotees, like-minded persons who with whom you can appreciate their qualities and you relish discussing topics of Krishna with them, and you help one another to overcome shortcomings and strengthen and utilize the abilities to create and further expand the bhakti network, the network of loving service to Krishna. That's somebody asked a question, I think it was just today I think. What's my history in Chicago? Now, let's just say something about my history in St. Louis. Divyananda, is he here? What was the year that Krishna Balaram were installed? 1983? You're not good with dates, right? What's that? 83. My history in St. Louis began with the installation of Krishna Balaram. I hadn't been here before, and I had just taken sannyas. Remember? I came. There was an installation ceremony of Krishna Balaram. That was my history with St. Louis, how it got kicked off. A little different than Chicago. My first visit to Chicago was in a traveling Sankirtan van. We ended up in jail. A little different in St. Louis. So it's meaningful, as I was taking darshan of the deities for this function, offering prayers that let this become a wholesome event for the persons who are participating. And then continuing to visit, and here we are. It's been a while, but same location right next to St. Louis University, and plenty of opportunity. But that speaking about this has to do with expanding the network. This is Lord Chaitanya's Sankirtan movement. We're meant to try to assist Lord Chaitanya in giving the message of bhakti to others. In addition to receiving, we also want to give, to our capacity. In addition to receiving, we want to give. So consider, collectively, each one of us can do only very little, and collectively, what can we do? What can we do? So whatever we can do. It's been the pandemic, it's been upside down time for everybody. But as things do start to clear, hopefully things will start to clear more. What are some ways that we can collectively give Krishna Bhakti to other people so their journey can also begin? Whether it's congregation, distribution of books, Srimad Bhagavatam reading groups, Harinam, Prasadam distribution of one kind or another. Whatever suits you, think of ways that you can expand the loving network of Lord Chaitanya's mercy as an individual or as a family or as groups, in whatever your capacity is. It's part of our life. It will make your bhakti grow. Guaranteed. Guaranteed. So now, next. Yeah, with the three initiates, we'll go one at a time. How about that? The first initiates, Renu, you go before the deity, pay obeisance. Maybe you should do it, all three of you go, because it'll take too long otherwise. Obeisances, and then obeisances in the back. Make a path, or you can go behind the chairs or whatever. All the way back to Prabhupada, if you would. Pay obeisances back there. Wait a minute. We need the vows with the curtain.
Prabhuji, please open the curtain. Chakri Prabhu.
Vows with the curtain open. As soon as the vows are done, you close the curtain. Sorry about that. I'll try to hurry up. Okay, obeisance is here. Venu, you and your good wife have been practicing Krishna consciousness for how many years now? How many years? How many? 15? 16. You're pretty steady. 16 years. How old are you? You're 11. So they were practicing from the time you were born. You're very fortunate. You're going to say something about Venu? One of the procedures is I like to have somebody that knows the individual say something.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. Venu Prabhu and family have been connected to our St. Louis temple for quite a period of time now, and they've been very steady in their practice, and anytime we reach them, they're ready to help the congregation as well as the temple. Very humble family, inspiring everyone, even though education-wise they are highly qualified. Materially also they are highly qualified, but they're very simple people. That inspires many of our congregation members. So I request Yamuna Prabhu to speak few words also, if you don't mind.
I've known Venu and family since 2009. We had started a Bhakti Viksha together in 2010 for about 3 or 4 years. And one thing that I've particularly appreciated about both of them is just their very charitable nature, very soft-spoken and charitable nature. At any point in time, we need some assistance with anything. At that time, it was my peak of being very energetically involved with the temple, and I remember inviting or sharing with Venu, certain things that needed to be accomplished, and he would immediately volunteer, even though it was against his nature or something he didn't want to do. So I very much appreciated his charitable nature and his willingness to serve, and they both have been very steady with their sadhana and growing in their sadhana over the years. So I'm really happy to see them take the step.
Big step. 16 years. These microphones are very interesting. Now it's on. You know how to make it work. So now it's time for vows. And how many rounds you chant every day? Minimum 16. Yeah? The 4 rules that you follow? Okay. And as you've been doing for so long, you'll continue to carefully follow Srila Prabhupada's teachings. Very good. Initiated name is Venu Madhurya Das.
Venu Madhurya Das Prabhu ki jai!
I didn't expect this one. I thought it won't work much.
Control yourself, will you? Those of you that know Nectar of Devotion, you know that Krishna has 64 qualities, and 4 of those qualities that Krishna has are unique to Krishna, that even Vishnu doesn't have, and Venu Madhurya is one of them. Krishna's very he very much enjoys in the rasa of playing his flute for the benefit of all his devotees. Okay. Go ahead.
So I've known Christian since, 8 years ago, something like that. Yeah. And he actually came in contact with Krishna consciousness through his friends in Bulgaria. And then when he came here, he was just dabbling into it a little bit. And since he moved into the Krishna house that we had here in St. Louis for about 6 months, and he just loved that experience. And I think that catapulted him in his Krishna consciousness. One thing I've truly learned to appreciate about Christian is he loves Srila Prabhupada's books, reading them and distributing them. He'll go find anyone to read Prabhupada's books. Now he's staying in the temple, and at one point in time he was knocking on devotees' doors, please read Prabhupada's books with me. So people had to shoo him away. Not now, not now. So he thoroughly enjoys that, and he's been very steady, chanting 16 rounds for about 5 years, something like that, 4 years. Yeah. Okay. So a good friend of mine, and has been staying in touch, even though we moved to Chicago. He's every week he makes sure he calls me, talk about Krishna and read Chaitanya Charitamrita or something.
Okay. Shelter time. How many rounds you'll chant every day on your beats?
Minimum 16.
And the 4 rules?
No meeting, no gambling, no intoxication, no restriction.
Can you say it in Bulgarian?
Sure. Actually, I'll think about it.
I caught him off guard. He was very surprised by that one. And you'll continue to follow Srila Prabhupada's teachings and his books that you love so much. Of course. Okay. Your initiated name is Keshava Madhava Das.
Keshava Madhava Das Prabhu ki.
Name needs no explanation. And
Deepa is been in connection with our temple for also for a long time here. She's been heavily involved before as a teacher, teaching our school, Sunday school kids. And also she helped in outside preaching in at times with Bal Vihar and other places as well. Very sincere soul. She's having already started worshipping deities, been worshipping deities at her home. Our whole family in India is most of them are initiated devotees. And our good husband is wanting her to progress in our Krishna consciousness. He's been her inspiration to make her to come to this stage today. So especially thanks goes to Pedana for helping her. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Super soul. Super soul moves something inside, and thank you. We thank Super soul too. Okay, your vows. You'll chant how many rounds every day? Good. And the 4 rules you'll follow? Okay. And you'll continue following Srila Prabhupada's teachings for the rest of your life. Okay. Your initiated name is Daya Sindhu Devi Dasi.
Daya Sindhu Devi Dasi ki.
Daya means mercy or grace. When I came across that name, it's one of the names there's 1,000 names of Radharani, and it's one of the names of Radharani. She's an ocean of grace. It doesn't just say mercy; it says grace. Servant of. Okay. So we're ready for the next, whatever the next is.
Hare Krishna. Now we'll start the Yagya process. Once Yagya is done, we'll let you know. You all will get up and offer the banana in your hand, but that's going to be a little later, but you can be prepared. And after that, you circumambulate and as I swaga. Yeah, so kindly come closer so you don't throw the rice everywhere and the grains everywhere. So try to drop it inside. So that at the end, it's easy for us to clean also. Okay. Om Shuklam Bharadram Vishnu Satyam Chaturbhujam Vadanna Vadanam Dhyaye Sarva Vignopashante. Om Prajapati Vishnu Katihi Ayati Chandra Vishnu Devata Jesta Samasta Mahavyuha Home Vinyoha Om Bhuvaswaha Idam Vishnude Idam Namah. ओम प्रजापति विष्णु ऋषि उसी छंदः श्री अच्युतो देवता यश्च समस्त महाव्यूहो के होमे विनियो ओम भुव स्वाहा इदम अच्युताय इदम नमः ओम प्रजापति विष्णु ऋषि अच्युत छंदः श्री नारायणो देवता यश्च समस्त महाव्यूहो के होमे विनियो ओम स्वाहा ओम प्रजापति विष्णु ऋषि बृहस्पति छंदः श्री अनंतो देवता यश्च समस्त महाव्यूहो के होमे विनियोगः ओम भूर्भुवः स्वाहा इदम् अनंताय इदं नमः ओम सहस्रशीर्षः पुरुषः सहस्राक्ष सहस्रपाठ स भूमिं विश्वतो वृत्वा अत्यतिष्ठत्तसाङ्गुलं पुरुष एवेदघुं सर्वं यद्भूतं यच्च भव्यम् उदामृतत्वस्येषानः यदन्येनातिरोहति एतावानस्य महिमा अतो ज्यायाकुश्च पूरुषः पादोऽस्य भस्माभूतानि त्रिपादर्श्यामृतं भवि त्रिपाधूर्त्व उदरै पुरुषः पादोऽस्येहा भवात् पुनः ततो विश्वं व्यक्रामत् शासनानसने असि तस्मात् विराट जायत विराजो अधिपूरुषः स जातो अद्यरिच्यत पश्चात् भूमिमतो पुरः यत्पुरुषेण हविषा देवा यज्ञमतन्वत वसन्तो अस्यासीताज्यं ग्रीष्म इद्मः शरदविः सप्तास्यासन् परिदयः त्रिशब्दः समिधकृताः देवा यज्ञं तन्वानाः अबध्नन् पुरुषं पशुं तं यज्ञं बर्हिषि प्रोक्षन् पुरुषं जातमक्रतः तेन देवा अयजन्त साद्या ऋषयश्च ये तस्मात् यज्ञात् सर्वहुतः संवृतं वृषताज्यं पशुः सागुस्तक्रे वायव्यान् आरण्याग्राम्याश्च ये तस्मात् यज्ञात् सर्वहुतः ऋचः सामानि जज्ञिरे चन्दाहुंसि जज्ञिरे तस्मात् यजुस्तस्मात् अजायत तस्मात् अश्वा अजायन्थ ये केशो भयाद्धतः गावोह जज्ञिरे तस्मात् जाता अजावयः यत्पुरुषं व्यदतत् गदिता व्यकल्पयन् मुखं किमस्य कौ बाहू कावूरूपादा उच्येते ब्राह्मणोऽस्य मुखमासीत् पाहुराजन्यकृतः ऊरू तदत्ययस्वैश्यः पद्व्याहुं शूद्रो अजायत चन्द्रमा मनसो जातः सूर्यो अजायत मुखादिन्द्रश्चाग्निश्च प्राणाद् वायुरजायत
नाव्या
ीतन्तरिष्यम्
शीर्ष्णौत्यौ समवर्तत पद्भ्यां भूमिद्युषश्रोद्रात् तथा लोकागुम् अकल्पयन् वेदाह
वेदं पुरुषं महान्तम् आदित्यवर्णं तमसत्परस्तमे रूपाणि
चित्यधीरः
नामानि कृत्वा
वदन्त्यतास्ते दाता पुरस्ताद्यमुदा जहार शक्रप्रविद्वान् प्रतिशश्चतस्रः तमेवं विद्वान्
अमृत इह भवति
नान्यपन्नाय विद्यते यज्ञेन यज्ञमयजन्त देवाः तानि धर्माणि प्रथमान्यासन् देहनाहं महिमानश्च सन्दे यत्र पूर्वे साध्या सन्ति देवाः अद्भ्यः सम्भूतपृथिव्यैरसाश्च विश्वकर्मणः समवर्तताति
तथाति
तस्य त्वष्टा विदतत्रूपमेति तत्पुरुषस्य विश्वमाचार
समग्रे वेदाहमेदं पुरुषं महान्तम् आदित्यवर्णं तमसत्परतात् तमेवं विद्वान् अमृत इह भवति नान्यपन्था वैनाय
प्रजापतिश्चरति गर्भे अन्तः अजायमानो
बहुधा विजायते
तस्य धीराः परिजनन्ति योनिं मरीचीनां
पदमिच्छन्ति वेदाः
यो देवेभ्य आतपति यो देवानां
आं
पुरोहितः पूर्वो यो देवेभ्यो जातः नमो रुचाय ब्राह्मये रुचं ब्राह्मं जनयन्त देवा अग्रे तत ब्रुवन् यस्वैश्वं ब्राह्मणो स विद्यात् तस्य देवा अशन्वसेः ह्रीश्चते लक्ष्मीश्च पत्न्यौ अहोरात्रे पार्श्वे नक्षत्राणि यूपम् अश्विनौ व्यास्तम् इष्टं मनीषाणाम् अमुं मनीषाणां सर्वं मनीषाणाम् ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः
नमो विष्णुपदाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले
श्रीमते
everyone please repeat after me you initiate devotee नमो विष्णुपदाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते रोमपाद स्वामी नामिने
Swaha.
स्वाहा
Om Ajnanatimirandasya Gyananjana Salakaya Chakshudunmiditam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Swaha 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 Sri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Svayam Rupagada Mayam Dadati Swapadantikam Swaha 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 Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavangscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raganatam Anvitam Tam Sujivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakanvitangscha Swaha 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 Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Desatarine Swaham, Swaham, Swaham. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya, Krishna Prestaya Bhutale, Srimate Bhakti Siddhanta, Saraswati Iti Namane, Shri Varshabhanavi Devi, Dayataya Kripabdaye, Krishna Sambandha Vijnana, Dayane Prabhave Namaha, Madhuryo Jvala Premadhya, Shri Rupa Nuga Bhaktida, Shri Gaura Karuna Shakti, Vigrahaya Namostate, Namaste Gauravani, Shri Murtaye Dinatarine, Rupa Nuga Viruddha, Apasiddhanta Dvanta Harine, Swaha, 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 Namo Gaura Kishoraya, Sakshad Vairagya Murtaye, Vipralambara Sambodhe, Padambo Jayate Namaha, Swaha, 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 Namo Bhakti Vinodaya, Satchit Anandanamine, Gaura Shakti Sarupaya, Rupa Nugavarayate, Swaha, 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 Nama Gaura Virbhava, Bhumistvam Nirdeshtana Sajana Priya, Vaishnava Sarvabhauma, Shri Jagannathaya Te Namaha, Swaha, 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 Panchakalpatarubhyascha, Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha, Patitanam Pavanebhyo, Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha, Swaha, 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 Namo Mahavadanyaya, Krishna Prema Pradayate, Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya, Namne Goratvishe Namaha, Swaha, 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 Panchatattvatmakam Krishnam, Bhakta Rupasvarupakam, Bhaktavataram Bhaktakyam, Namami Bhakta Shaktikam, Swaha, Swaha, Swaha. Hey Krishna Karuna Sindho, Dina Bandho Jagatpate, Gopesha Gopika Kanta, Radha Kanta Namostate, Swaha, 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 Jayatam Surato Pangor, Mama Manda Mater Gati, Matsarvasva Padam Bhojo, Radha Madada Mohano, Swaha, 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 Divyad Vrindaranya, Kalpadramadaha, Srimad Ratanagara, Singhasanasto, Shri Radha, Shri Lagovinda Devo, Prishtadibhi Sevyamano Smarami Swaha 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 Shriman Rasarasarambhi Vangshivata Tatastataha Karshan Venuswanayar Gopir Gopinatha Shriyestunaha Swaha 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 Taptakanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Rishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Swaha 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 Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Swaha 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 Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Swaha Swaha Swaha. Okay, final mantra.
Please, everyone get up. Take the banana in your hand. And repeat after me. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnatya Purnamadhaya Purnamevavasishyate Om Namo Vadamanna Devaya Brahmanya Ditaya Cha Jagatitaya Krishnaya Govindaya Namo Namaha Gently twist off. Keep and tell me. Circumvent 3 times.
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Rama